windows being down, and obviously he's saying, look, follow me, pull the vehicle over, and he's not doing it. Yeah, I mean, it almost looked like maybe he told them, okay, and then no, just kidding. And so now we're going underneath Hawthorne Boulevard right here. Well, let's see if they. Nope, here they are. I was thinking maybe they were coming to a stop. You see the window down there on the passenger side as well. So, I would just love to know what was being said there between CHP and the suspect.
And obviously, too, they have to be so careful to pull up alongside the vehicle. They don't know if this person has a weapon, or so for folks at home, if you're wondering, well, why don't they just pull up and try some sort of maneuver to disable the car? The problem is there's other people in the area. We don't know what kind of volatile situation may be involved here, so they have to be cautious and they have to be aware of the public safety issues that's around. And like you said, Des, it's interesting. I wonder if he just told the police, "Oh yeah, I'll just go over there. Well, I'll just pull over," and then just sort of pulled this other maneuver. But again, this vehicle traveling at a very slow clip, really.
Yeah, and we're watching. It looks as though they're going to try to do a pit maneuver, perhaps, or.
Well, let's see.
It's hard to say what he's doing there on the side.
Yeah, Hawthorne Boulevard would be a good street to do that if they wanted. It's a very wide street with a huge median in the middle, and that's where everyone parks. I don't think there's any parking on Hawthorne Boulevard, so there wouldn't be much concern about this vehicle spinning out into a innocent person's vehicle. Traffic we could see is considerably lighter than normal. If they want to do that, it seems to me like a good idea, but we haven't heard about them talking about that yet. My understanding, though, is that all CHP officers are PIT certified, whereas some other agencies, there's only specific officers or deputies that are PIT certified. CHP has told me that all of their officers are, so they should have that ability. I think they still have to get signed off, though, from their watch commander on this one. But, look at it, just not stop. Well, did we just go through a red light there? We might have. Yeah, this is a weird one. Southbound on Hawthorne Boulevard, and again, a pretty minor thing. This wasn't, a serious felony thing, anything. It was just no plates on the back of the car. So we'll see how serious CHP is with bringing this one to an end.
And Des, I'm amazed at how empty Hawthorne Boulevard is right now at, 4:20 in the afternoon. But again, we've been talking about it being the holiday season. But I mean, just wide open roadway for this person. And hopefully they will take advantage of this and perhaps try that pit maneuver or even some spike strips. It doesn't seem, look like.
Oh, they're picking up a little bit here.
A little speed. It looked like there was a little more motion in the car, but he just seems to be driving along as if nothing's happening. No one's after him. No one's asked him to pull over. Just seems to be following the rules of the road as well.
Right. And
okay, they were actually trying to block him in. I was just listening to him. There you go. I mean, that's the most dangerous thing they've done so far is going around the police. So we'll see how this driver reacts to CHP. They're trying to kind of be, frankly, I think, on the kinder side to bring this to an end. We've seen them give this person a lot of deference, getting off the roadway there, actively communicating to them through open windows from both vehicles, and look at they just coming in to try to kind of block them off, and then the unit going. Or this person going right in front of them here again. Look, just pull the car over. What is wrong with you? Just pull this vehicle over. If you don't stop, CHP might have to pit you or something.
Like he's taking off
so
his seatbelt.
Now we're starting to see it get a little bit more aggressive. And the seatbelt's coming off as well, Amy and Tom.
Yeah, and Des, I think as you said, he's getting a bit more aggressive now, and the speeds are picking up. And it is interesting the way they've approached this, because it hasn't been a very hyper-aggressive approach in terms of the CHP. They seem to have trying to be patient with him, perhaps trying to maybe because he was behaving sort of well and abiding by traffic laws and stopping at stoplights.
Seemed as though perhaps he did not know he was being pursued, but then we saw he definitely knows. He's definitely trying to get away from these officers, not willing to stop, willing to go around these other cars. And I think that they are going to have to be more aggressive, perhaps spike strips, a pit maneuver.
Right, and if it goes back to the freeway, you have to wonder, then what measures do you take, especially if you have so much open road as we've seen today? There really is, but you can see the CHP is not keeping it a long distance. They are tracking closely behind the vehicle.
Yeah, and Tom and Amy, I was just wondering, there hasn't been any talk actually from these officers so far about either using a pit maneuver or using spike strips. I mean, I can remember a time not even very long ago where there would be almost no conversation. This vehicle got off the freeway, and we would instantly see a pit maneuver at the first opportunity. And we're just living in different times, I suppose. And so you saw there, CHP, all of the communication they've done, all of the opportunities they've given this person to stop this craziness, and then very unorthodox to see CHP come and try to kind of cut the vehicle off, but that didn't work either. So if they are going to stick with this, and they're not just going to wait for this person to willfully stop, and who knows when that could be, that might not be for a very long time until they run out of gas, then let's see if they're going to get more aggressive with the spike strips or with the pit maneuver. Again, I mean, you see Hawthorne Boulevard. This is not a tiny street. This is a very wide street, 4 lanes here. No one parked on the side. Very light traffic. If they got the authorization to do a pit maneuver, I would think that they would take it pretty quickly.
Especially because this driver really isn't going that fast. That's also a big factor, that they don't do it if the car is going too fast. But this driver's relatively, been going relatively slow.
Right.
So it seems like it would have been certainly a great opportunity for them to take advantage of doing that pit maneuver.
I mean, especially at that point where they encountered the suspect and the CHP officers or troopers were interacting in some way, either communicating verbally or with some hand gestures at that one freeway exit where they were communicating in some fashion, and then the driver just took off again. I guess the other question too is, a lot of times if these drivers exit, they may be exiting in an area that they know. So is this, this is an area where this person is from, or they, have, people in the area they know. Those are some of the other considerations. I'm sure if they kind of appear to be maneuvering through the area in a way that maybe that they're a local, they know, some endpoint that they're trying to get to, or maybe that they think they can, get away. Well, that definitely looks like a dangerous maneuver.
Ran a red light there. It looks like everybody was waiting. Yeah. And, you also wonder, I mean, this is an older car. Perhaps it just doesn't go much faster than
That's
this.
Right. Yeah.
You have to, you have to wonder, because he really hasn't been going all that fast, even when he was on the freeway.
Yeah, definitely an older economy car here, this older Nissan Sentra. The tires may be questionable on this vehicle as well. So definitely for the best that this suspect hasn't been pushing this vehicle as far as it could go. And especially since, we saw the suspect take their seatbelt on, and I don't think they clicked it back in either. So, pretty strange. Are they in an area that they know? We're not sure. We're not sure where this vehicle's out of, because there was no license plate. So, they're dealing with someone totally unknown at this point. Is this a stolen vehicle? Certainly worth wondering, because it doesn't have any plates on it. That's very common for stolen vehicles not to have any plates on them whatsoever. So southbound on Hawthorne Boulevard, if they continue here, this is going to lead us up to the Palos Verdes Peninsula. It's going to start to get pretty steep here if they continue, get kind of windy as we head up that way. There will be lots of trees and stuff for us to contend with. And, things are picking back up. I mean, now we see, since CHP, tried to cut this person off, now they are starting to run these red lights, at least stopping at the intersections, not blowing through them completely, but now going through red lights, cutting through people. There were some folks in the crosswalk there, a bit of a close call there. So things are beginning to ramp up a little bit here.
Absolutely, and we know that usually means that those officers are going to get a little more aggressive when things start picking up like this, and the driver poses more threats to even more people. I'm still amazed at how open Hawthorne Boulevard is at this time of day. Even with the holiday season, it's still relatively empty, and you would hope that they would be able to, do that pit maneuver, put out some spike strips, anything to stop this driver, because you just don't know. Once they avoid the officers like that, you just don't know what else they're willing to do. And when he took off that seatbelt, Des, I have to say, I thought maybe he was going to try to jump out and make a run for it.
And does any other agencies involved yet, or is it still just look like CHP?
this is still just CHP. They're the ones who initiated this, and they're the ones that have stuck with it. And it's getting increasingly uncommon to see CHP stick with pursuits when they get onto surface streets and they stay onto surface streets. But since they're the ones who initiated this, they are still, I would argue, the most aggressive of the law enforcement agencies, compared to LAPD or LA County Sheriff's deputies or something like that. So probably the reason why they're sticking with this is because they were the ones that initiated it, and we're almost looking like they wanted to come in for a pit maneuver right there and then backed off at the last second. But I still haven't heard any talk about that. But we've been on one street the entire time, so if not a pit maneuver, then spike strips would certainly seem like a reasonable option as well. But there just has not been any communication about using any strategy to end this.
And, it seems like a lot of the drivers here aren't really getting over. And still, this car just going right through, wide open, and no plans, it looks, to stop. And, you just wonder what's happening here, and that the officers aren't taking advantage of the situation to be able to do that pit maneuver or the spike strips that you mentioned does.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've covered so many tragic endings to pursuits, and for better or worse, it has definitely changed the way that a lot of agencies conduct these pursuits. I mean, I can tell you when it comes to LA County Sheriff's deputies, if it's not something very, very serious and a driver starts to take off, so many times they just say cancel pursuit. It's not worth it. We don't want to endanger anyone. We'll get this person later, even if it's a stolen vehicle or something like that. Generally not the case with CHP. I mean, we are seeing them, at least in this pursuit, acting a lot more conservative tactically, but they are still in pursuit, and they have been for quite a while, so that tells me that they are going to stick with this one. I mean, we'll see if the driver gets really, really crazy. They may end up canceling this, but, years ago, we would have never talked about a pursuit being canceled because of the way that someone is driving, but because of the way that, unfortunately, some of these pursuits have ended with innocent people being hurt and even killed, things are just a lot different now with the way that all of these agencies handle pursuits.
And this driver, I mean, just sat at the light, waited patiently for the light to change before they took off, and I mean,
that's exactly. I was just going to point that out. In this particular situation, he's run a number of red lights. But in this case, they stopped and they were waiting. So it's very erratic in that sense. Obviously, another, once again, stopping there. We'll see if they pull forward. But it kind of makes you wonder what's the mindset of this person if they're willing to stop at these intersections and, at one point communicate with police and comply with speed limits and traffic laws. If they're willing to do all of that, then, what is preventing this person from stopping and ending this now? Because it's not, as far as we know, it was not for some violent felony, as far as we know at this point. So we're waiting, to find out more details. But we've definitely seen pursuits in worse situations, much scarier in terms of danger to public safety than we are seeing right now.
Yeah, we are seeing a little more traffic in this area now, more cars on the roadway in this area, which, of course, makes it a little more dangerous, even though this driver still has been going only around 30, 40 miles an hour. But again, we're getting less lanes in this area, Des. They're getting closer to the peninsula, right? I'm trying to make out exactly where.
We are officially on getting up into the peninsula now at this point. We're into the city of Rolling Hills, I believe the oldest of the four cities on the Palos Verdes Peninsula. And, it's when we have suspects that are just kind of acting like this, where they're obeying most of the laws and just refusing to pull over, we either usually will see like a suspect really agitated inside at the situation, maybe on the phone, yelling at someone or just fidgeting around, or we'll see kind of what this person is doing, where it's almost just like they're in denial with the situation, with what's going on. They're not, there's almost no movement. They're looking ahead. They're stopping at most of the intersections, not all of them. Of course, we have seen them go through some red lights, but it just almost is like this. It seems like they don't want to accept what's going on, don't want to accept what seems like the inevitable. Although they have been texting a little bit. We have seen them kind of looking down, maybe texting on his phone. So we'd love to know who this person's texting and what they're thinking. But it's just always very peculiar, when we see these suspects. And maybe they're hoping that CHP is just going to disappear out the rearview mirror, but not likely.
Not at all. And then you wonder if they're trying to get someone to meet them, if they're letting them know.
Pulled ahead. Oh, look, this is interesting.
Yeah. To see if he's going to try to do.
Yeah.
Tom and Amy, we're starting to hear some talk about doing something more to bring this to an end. So we'll see what happens here. Maybe now that the road has gotten more narrow and there's actually even a little bit less traffic, this might be a good idea for them to do something. I'll just don't want to reveal their hand too much, but look at them here flying right up ahead of them. So they're going to try to do something up ahead to see if they can bring this one to an end. And this is kind of weird here.
Yeah, we don't often see
very
this.
rare to see this where
this
is I've only ever I'm not sure that I've ever seen this where CHP is getting ahead and trying to slow them down. Very interesting.
Like boxing them in, kind of.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This is very unusual.
Yeah, definitely. And
I mean, that Nissan's not going to be able to keep up with those. What are those? Suburbans, or I can't tell what the
the
CHP is
SUVs,
driving.
definitely.
SUV, yeah.
And then pulls over and lets this person go. Perhaps.
No. Oh, sorry. I thought that car was pulling over.
Yeah, you just wonder what tactics they're working on right now to get this driver to stop. They certainly slowed him down for a little bit, perhaps to get things in place up ahead, but it's hard to say what maneuver they are going to actually try at this point to get this driver to stop.
Right. It was an interesting maneuver there. I haven't seen that recently.
No.
Where you see, but then they let him pull forward, so that. You have to wonder if there's some strategy there because there were two cruisers in front of the driver and then they both allowed, and certainly didn't need to, the Sentra then to pull ahead of them. So what could be the plan?
Just seems like this would be the...
Yeah, here it looks like might be talking again here. Here you see like... it's just... It's so strange to see CHP be so willing to communicate and almost just really asking this person to stop, and then that was weird going in reverse a second and then continuing. And you see how many units are on this. They've been able to kind of swarm this person because they have been going so slow. And it's almost like a kinder, gentler CHP is in pursuit on this one.
I have to agree. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like this where they're pulling up, they're talking, they're letting them back up, then go forward. You wonder if they're not, you see people walking on the sidewalk there.
I mean, maybe there's a bigger strategy here that we're not fully aware of. Maybe Des knows about it, doesn't want to reveal it, which I totally understand. We don't want to just
show their hands in any way or ruin what they are planning to try to get this driver to stop. But this is definitely unusual to see them do this. It really seems like Des was saying, a kinder, gentler CHP and not doing that pit maneuver. It seems like they've had a couple of opportunities. We haven't seen spike strips out at all. So, this is very unusual.
And it's we don't know the cruisers have pulled ahead. There may be something else going on, but it looks like they're trying to obviously do everything they can to make sure nobody else is injured. They're doing a pretty good job protecting this driver, quite frankly, making sure that this person doesn't injure themselves. By not trying to intimidate or pursue maybe too aggressively, so this person, reacts in some way that could put themselves or other people in jeopardy. So a lot of credit there to them too.
Does he seem a little more agitated now, or he's just talking?
A little bit. I mean, a lot more active communication going on here. He was talking to, I think, a CHP that might have been in the intersection, and here's another one that pulls right up. I just really wish we knew what we were saying if we had some, ultra sensitive directional microphone, because I just find it so fascinating what's happening here. And look at that. Completely boxed in. Oh boy, now look at that. That was brilliant there.
Oh, wow. Distracted. I was just thinking
here we
he's
go.
Distracted.
Yeah. How much are you going to resist here, buddy? Just give it up. It's over. It's not worth resisting.
My gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
Here we go.
He's trying to...
Okay. An abrupt ending to this one. That was really brilliant. I think you had one of the officers kind of distracting him.
That was really impressive.
And then one of the other ones, they just came right in, so coordinated there, and pulled right in front, boxed him in with all 4 vehicles at the same time, and were able to bring this one to an end. But obviously not willingly giving up here. But a very strange pursuit coming to a very unorthodox ending here at Hawthorne Boulevard near Grays Lake at the top of the Palos Verdes Peninsula. Tom and Amy.
Yes, and again, this was a driver who was wanted because they did not have a license plate on their car. This pursuit going on for about 45 minutes, maybe a little longer. Again, they were able to get the suspect in custody. You're seeing this right now, this driver in handcuffs, and they are looking through the car right now, making sure, of course, that no one else is in there and what else might actually be in that car. But they are walking this suspect to a patrol car right now and taking him into custody.
And here we go. We'd like to show you once again what this looked like at the end when it looked like the officers were talking to the suspect, which they were, but it was all a maneuver in order to box him in and then move in for the arrest. And what's interesting to me, too, is how closely they moved in. Usually, in many cases, they don't approach the suspect right away. They don't know if he's holding a weapon. Usually, they're ordered to the ground, in a way that to make sure that the person is not armed. So that all happened very quickly, and it's a good thing that, frankly, that this person was not armed. It was a very rapid ending to that, and certainly could have gone much scarier ways.
Yes, definitely. Good that no one has been hurt. They're talking to him there. It looks like he's, talking back, looks rather upset. Did not want to go peacefully, as we saw.
And startled. He had no idea that was going on.
I think by the time he realized and then tried to put it in reverse, it was definitely too late for him to get away. But they're definitely checking him out, making sure he doesn't have any weapons. And, in many ways, it still almost seems like he seemed